All right. Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Courtney Kawa. I am the member liaison at TASA and on the learning and evaluation team. I have been with TASA for 5 years. And if you would like to know more about my background, go check out the bios online. Yeah, and I'm excited to be here and excited to see y'all today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Courtney, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Wait, we're live, learning the ropes of virtual conversations. Can you believe it that we're actually live? And so again, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. And please take the opportunity to welcome folks as they arrive. Before we begin, we want to encourage you to introduce yourself and to share a little bit about yourself in the chat. If you could share the following, if you could share your name, your title, your organization, and what brought you to today's workshop. Like, what interested you in this particular workshop? Because of course you have choices. We know that you are all very busy, and we appreciate your attendance in today's workshop.
Additionally, if y'all would be interested in sharing, we're going to launch a poll here because we do have a question for you as we get started, specifically around what brought you here today. Not just that, but what you're hoping to learn. What fears do you have about going live? And I'm not talking about on Zoom, but on live streaming on social media. We'll get that going here shortly.
Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, please take a moment to fill out that poll. We really appreciate you sharing, some of your fears with us. But a lot of really good folks in the room. Thank you so much for introducing yourself in the chat. We definitely want to encourage you to use the chat throughout. And so yeah, thanks for saying hi in the chat. Let's see what folks are saying. I'm always interested in to join TASA's Institute. Well, we're happy that you're here. Thank you so much for being with us today. Let's see what other folks are sharing. The virtual, I can't move it, so. Scrolling through, work brought me here today. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited for this whole training to give me more of a background on my position. Thank you so much for being here. So yeah, so the poll is open. What are your fears about going live? So let's see how what folks, is it trolls? Is it technical issues? Is it misspeaking? No live audience, just getting started. So what are your fears? Take a moment to complete the poll. Look at y'all. Thank y'all so much for doing that. I'll give you a little bit more, about 30 more seconds to complete the poll here. About half of y'all have completed the poll. So here come the rest of y'all. So just take a moment and complete the poll. We'd love to know what fears you have about going live. Look at that. Technical issues is winning right now. Misspeaking is next. No live audience, and getting started is in the last place. All right, 18 of 20. Oh, 19 of 23. Watch out, folks.
I think we can share the results.
Let's do it. So look at that. Well, I'm glad to see that nobody is concerned about trolls. So, and we're not talking about the trolls that live under the bridge. We're talking about the trolls that we encounter online, the folks who are engaging in harassment and abuse and etc. But most folks, it's about half and half. Folks are concerned about technical issues, and we share those fears. we've had our fair share of those fears today. So thank you for sharing that. Misspeaking, I do it all the time, so it's okay. And so yeah, misspeaking is something that we all fear. I know that well. No live audience. I'm glad to see that you're here. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. And it says that me and Courtney talking to each other.
We'll
We'll
go
go
into all of these as
as
we
we
discuss.
discuss.
Yes. And just getting started, folks, like 5% of us are just like the fear of just getting started, right? And so hopefully we will help you overcome some of these fears today. Maybe not, we'll see. We hope we help you sort of overcome some of these fears, but it's okay to have fears, right? Like I definitely had a lot of fears about this workshop, and every time I go live, I have all kinds of fears. So you're not alone. And thank you so much for completing the poll.
Thank you, Emiliano. All right, so we're going to jump right in.
So, one of the things that me and Courtney talked about when we were developing this workshop is like for us at the core is why go live, right? And so we encourage you just to take a moment to really reflect on that. And so just make a note of yourself. Why do you want to go live? Why is this particular strategy so important for you? So for me, one of the things that we considered here at TASA was how we share the work that we're doing specifically with the Texas Men Speak project. And so I'm going to spend time in today's workshop talking specifically about why we go live with that particular project. But this is a statewide violence prevention initiative specifically targeting male identified individuals here in Texas. We have been very fortunate that male identified folks from around the country have been participating, but we really thought, wouldn't it be creative in a wonderful way to engage folks outside of that particular audience, especially women identified folks and other folks who aren't able to participate in our Texas Men Speak virtual gatherings and book club. So we really wanted to broaden that audience and include women identified folks in those conversations that we explore every month. So we explore a different topic every month. And so this is sort of an example of sort of the first Instagram Live that we hosted here at TASA for the Texas Men Speak. And we really didn't know what we were doing. I had never gone live on Instagram personally or professionally. And so I was really quite sort of unprepared. And as much as I could, learn and think that I knew what I was doing, I didn't really have a lot of ideas about how it would turn out. And so we didn't really have any way of kind of getting the word out about it. Like we really focused primarily on Instagram and felt like we could really reach men on that platform. But we also knew that a lot of women identified folks are using Instagram. And so we thought Instagram would be the best place to host the lives and to engage in these conversations with a broader audience. And so for our Instagram lives, we generally have a guest speaker that's an expert on that particular topic. And so, for this one, like I said, we invited Jeremy Flowers to participate in this discussion about the work of East Texas Men. And we've come a long way to now be able to have a branded post that promotes the Instagram Live. And so this is the most recent example of the last Instagram Live that we hosted with Efrain Reyes about fatherhood. And so you'll get a sense of where we started and where we are today after 2 years of doing these virtual live events. And so you can actually go back and watch all of the recordings that we've done, and hopefully you'll see some improvement over time. But that'll give you sort of a snapshot of why we go live.
Thank you, Emiliano. So yes, Emiliano does lives on Instagram, as he mentioned. When I started live, it was back in 2019. And essentially, as the member liaison, I wanted there to be a way to reach our members across the state and just like cover different topics shortly. And I'll go into more detail about how that took place. But the greatest thing about live is like it gives you an opportunity to engage folks in real time in broader spaces. And, you know, with us all being virtual for a bit, live has been very useful in connecting with folks and being able to dive deeper. So
Thank you, Courtney. I think, you know, if folks haven't had an opportunity to watch the AMAs, I definitely encourage you. You'll find them in the membership Facebook group. And so definitely check those out if you haven't, just sort of as an example as well. So thank you, Courtney. So let's talk a little bit about what your goal is and your objective for going live. And so we want you to think critically during today's workshop about what that means for you, right? And so me and Courtney are going to go back and forth because it's Instagram live versus Facebook, YouTube live. So it's on. So here we go. We want to encourage you to think about, like, for us, we wanted to reach a broader audience. Like I said earlier, we wanted to reach female identified folks and engage with them in these conversations, and engage a broader audience that we might only reach, not just on Instagram, but across all of our social media platforms.
all right, y'all, I'm having some technical difficulties as we are live. This is literally happening in real time. It's fine. So yes, when I got started with Ask Me Anything, the goal was to be able to engage our members and bringing them folks from the field, being able to talk on specific topics. If you've never heard the term AMA, that is going back to Reddit, where people would host live conversations where people could ask any types of questions to people who are very knowledgeable on certain things. And so, yes, my whole goal was to be able to engage our members in what they would like to hear from in the field. And also, Emiliano, I'm just going to let you advance the slides because apparently my computer wanted to just skip through everything. All right.
That is what we're talking about, folks. Anytime you go live, you know, the great fear of technical issues. So yeah, I got you, Courtney. All right. There we go, folks. Google Slides, come on. So yeah, I think, you know, to Courtney's point, thank you, Courtney. We're all about also acquiring new followers on Instagram, right? I think a goal here at TASA is to be able to reach as many Texans around the issue of sexual violence, right? And that includes, you know, folks who are directly impacted, victim advocates, professionals who are working in the field of sexual violence, education, prevention, et cetera. So we always want to acquire new followers. So if you are not a follower, if you are not following us on Instagram, please take a moment to follow us. And because there are so many opportunities for you to share the, you know, our posts, and to share specifically the lives that we do on Instagram. And so we need your help to promote those events. Anytime that we go live, you'll get a notification if you're not familiar with Instagram that we've gone live. And so in a lot of ways, by going live once a month, we have been able to acquire new followers. masculine identified followers as well as women identified followers. And I think that's really important, that we want to continue to grow our following, not just on Instagram, but on Facebook and Twitter. So if you're not following us at TASA, please take a moment to do that, as well as on YouTube. We want to make sure that we grow our audience and encourage you to share our content with folks in your communities.
So in contrast, though I would love for folks to become members, I hope to emphasize connecting folks in the field. So with the live stream, I don't actually go to our main page. In order for people to access our content, they have to be a part of our membership Facebook group, as well as receive the link to our YouTube Live. The joy about YouTube Live is you can still set it to private or public, depending on how much access you want to provide folks. And so again, it all comes back to supporting our members and engaging them in what they would like to hear or know from other folks in the field.
Yes. So one of the things that we really value and think that's really important here at TASA is to promote our organizational brand. And so we want, like I said, everyone in Texas and beyond to know about TASA. Even though we've been around for 40 years, there are still folks who have never heard of TASA or understand our mission. And so we want to promote our organizational brand. And so you will see everything, including today's institute, with our TASA brand, our TASA colors. And so we try to incorporate that in all the promotional graphics that we share for the Instagram lives that we host here at TASA. But you will see our brand throughout. So we have an amazing graphic designer. We also acknowledge the reality that most rape crisis centers don't have somebody with that level of expertise or access to the tools or technology to create the kind of graphics that we create here at TASA. But I think we're going to share with you later on in today's workshop some of the tools that are available to you just on your phone that you can use to create some amazing graphics to engage your audience.
So the next thing I want to share is bringing in experts from the field. So to keep it short, just so y'all know, I am not the content expert when it comes to working in sexual assault. I am a newbie in my eyes. And that's why I like having other folks come in and be able to share their knowledge and share their access and information, and especially with other folks, because I know I'm not the only person who has been new in the field. So, you know, the whole goal of stories is actually having the people who know the information be able to share that out to y'all. So yeah.
Well, Courtney, you are an expert to me, and all of you who are joining us today are experts in your own light, right? I think it's important to acknowledge and to think about what is your expertise? What is it that you can share with folks? If you go live, if you're an advocate or an educator, an outreach worker, whatever your role is, whether it's volunteers, we are all experts in our own way. And so I want to encourage you to just take a moment to reflect on what expertise you bring to the field. Part of our work is really specifically for the Instagram Live is to educate and to inform and to engage. Like we want to engage in a broader conversation around healthy masculinities. And so we really use the Instagram Live to really talk to folks, to hear from folks about their experiences around masculinities and that particular topic that we're exploring. For example, the last Instagram Live that we hosted was about fatherhood. And so we're trying to engage folks who are fathers and father figures in just conversations around healthy masculinity, how they're raising or how they're helping to raise their children. And so that's a really important way to engage your audience and to get them involved.
And we felt so
confident in the
that we wrote it twice. So same time on Facebook and YouTube, educate, inform, and engage. Coming in, same goal, just different different folks, from human trafficking to SANES to talking about system failures. Yeah, we are here to help provide information out and hope that you gain like a little nugget of knowledge from just hearing from us.
Hey, Courtney, why are you copying me? No, I, as you can see, I think when you think about like the goals and objectives of why your organization goes live, you will see that different different teams have the same goals in mind for their engagement on social media. One of the things that we really wanted to do is create what we call evergreen content. This is content that can be shared throughout. We wanted to create content that folks could use in their community. So if you're not familiar with any of the Instagram lives that we've hosted, we hope that you will go back and review them and share that at any time. For example, the one about fatherhood is a really good resource to share during Father's Day, right? If you're wanting to engage fathers in June, then that's a really great tool that you can use and share in your community or incorporate into your own presentations, your own trainings, or your own, conversations with dads in your community. So we wanted to create evergreen content that is shareable. And so go and check out all of those Instagram lives and see how you can use them throughout the year.
Oh, what was that? So it's the same? Yes. For the point of emphasis of evergreen content, every year, an example of this is like resolutions are part of a member benefit. They can submit resolutions. It impacts the work that we do as an organization. Every year, I share out about resolutions and they ask me anything. And folks can always go back and view our content on YouTube, including folks who may not be members, but because the lives are specifically for members to engage with, they get this special section of actually being present at the live, but being able to share out that information afterwards is super helpful. So yeah, evergreen content.
I love it, Courtney. Thank you. One of the things that we want to do, like I was saying earlier, is to provide those tools to rape crisis centers that you can use in your men's engagement. So while we're talking about specifically the Texas Men Speak, our goal is not just to engage male-identified folks in the prevention of sexual violence, but to help you do that work in your own community. And so we really encourage you to use that as a tool to have conversations. Now, we haven't developed study guides or discussion questions, but we really encourage you to get creative with the content that we create here at TASA. If it's just resharing it or just incorporating it, like I said, into presentations, trainings, etc., we definitely want to encourage you to do that. And if you do, please let us know. Tag us, share that with me. We want to hear from you how you're using our content that we're creating.
So on this side, I know I've already touched on it, but yes, for our lives, again, it is in order to be able to engage our members, and that includes on current events or items requested by our members. So I make it so that folks are able to submit if they have ideas or topics that they would like to hear, or if there are folks they would like to hear from, just giving the opportunity to allow folks to have input on what we're focusing on and what conversations are being held. Because again, it's not about me, it's about y'all and the work that you're doing in the field.
And for me, this has been a tremendous creative outlet for me. And I don't consider myself an artist or just a creative type, but I have really found this to be a wonderful creative outlet for me on social media. I conduct all of the Instagram live interviews, and it's just been a wonderful way for me for you, the audience, to see a different side of me that you might not see in trainings or conferences or so it is really a way for me to share and to talk about my own experiences around masculinity and to do it in a really creative, a really unique way I don't currently see any sexual assault coalitions here in the country and territories that is engaging in this kind of conversation on social media, specifically on Instagram. And so we want to definitely be a model for other folks around the country and territories, as sort of a way to engage male identified folks and women identified folks in these conversations. So yeah, it's been an amazing creative outlet for me. So check it out. And I'm always open to feedback. So please let me know if you have any thoughts or any feedback for me of how I can improve or how we can improve our engagement that we're trying to do on social media.
And the last one for me is coming through.
Oh,
It's a creative outlet. It's very shocking, y'all. The only change I would make from what Emiliano said is I do consider myself a creative. So it's been fun having a way to express it. Yeah, that's it.
so I'd love to see sort of a raise of hand in the reactions. You have like a little hand, or you can use as an emoji to raise your hand, or a thumbs up. Actually, let's do the thumbs up better. How many folks go live? I'm sort of curious, folks who are in our audience, how many of you are going live already? Yeah, so there's Linda, other folks going live in here. Yeah.
Ooh.
Linda raised her hand. Look at you, Linda. Thank you. Henley raised their hand. So yeah, thank you so much for doing that. So, there are folks in here that have gone live that have some experience. So me and Courtney by no means are the only people in this space today that have some experience. So Linda and Henley, are definitely a resource. I'd love to hear more about how you go live, or even a link to your most recent live. We'd love to see those and share those. And so feel free to share that in the chat with other folks as well, so we can get an idea of when and how you go live. But one of the things that we think is really important and valuable is to really think about who your guests and your audience are. Like I was saying earlier, we are really trying to engage our primary audience of male identified individuals. But in the process, we want to engage in a conversation with women identified folks who are unable to attend and participate in Texas Men Speak events because it is exclusively for male identified folks. And so I get contacted a lot by women identified folks that say, can I come to a Texas Men Speak event? And unfortunately, I have to say no. And so this is really one of the few ways that we're able to engage with women identified folks around Texas. And so one of the things that we do is we invite experts in that particular topic area that we're exploring. So each month we're exploring a different topic. And so, like I said, Efrain was our most recent guest. And so I wanted to share with you our agenda that we use to facilitate these Instagram live discussions. And so you'll see that we, like me in particular, we set up a really structured time. These Instagram lives tend to be 1 hour long. And so we try to engage in conversations around that particular issue by asking very direct, specific questions. And so you'll sort of, this is sort of the most recent sample. And so we use the same template for each Instagram live, and I develop those questions and really try to go deeper with the audience member, respond to the questions, their answers to those particular questions. And so the conversation can go in a lot of different directions based on what they share, but it's usually a one-on-one conversation. So I'm usually interviewing one person. And so we also open it up. If you've ever done an Instagram live, folks can leave comments or leave emojis or leave reactions to the during the Instagram live. And so it's a really great way to open up to questions and to make time to engage your audience, because that's so valuable and so important on Instagram. folks want to feel engaged. They want to feel like they're part of the conversation, even though they're not participating live. We can't see them, but you can always invite any guest. So you could actually invite somebody into your Instagram Live to ask a question or to make a comment. So that is really unique, but we haven't done that before. So again, the Instagram Live is primarily with our guest, and so you'll get a sense of how we ask those questions and how we use that Instagram Live event to promote the upcoming Texas Men Speak virtual event for that month.
And as for when I host the AMAs, so first off, like a good way to source content of what we focus on for our guests and our audience is like regional meetings. We hold those every year through our board. And based on the conversations that transpire, that helps process what we may focus on for an AMA. And then in terms of building out, in difference from Emiliano, what he does on Instagram Live, for Facebook Live and YouTube Live, I always do a tech run prior where I develop the questions with our guests. And starting off, it originally used to be one. The most recent one that we did had 5 guests. So the time frame went from being 15 minutes to 20 minutes to this last one being almost an hour. So I don't tend to plan out the time. It just depends on what level of conversation we need to go into and like how in depth. And in terms of building out the content of what we do for our audience, in prepping the questions, we'll add an extra question that is just a backup pending on time, as well as with developing the questions, I tend to like to ask a random question, and I'll go further in depth with that later on. Additionally, I will show you the back end of what tool is used in terms of going live. But this is how we're able to engage guests, our guests with our audience, and folks can, we don't populate folks into it, but if they have questions, we're able to populate questions into our live feed during the AMA. So yeah, and then I'm trying to think if there were anything in terms of access. Like I said, the access is limited. This helps also avoid any type of trolls because it is specifically, you can only be in the membership group if you are a member. And again, we set the YouTube to private. So yeah.
Thank you, Courtney. All things for you to consider, right? So we're talking about really 2 different platforms, 2 different purposes. We have 2 different experiences with going live, and we want to encourage you to think about what works best for you. So these models are not, are specific, to me and Courtney. But you might do something different, right? And so we want to encourage you to explore all the different tools and platforms that you have available to you at your organization, right? And so an Instagram Live doesn't require anything except for your phone, and that you're logged into your profile, right? So you can use your organizational profile on Instagram to go live. So it doesn't really require any tools other than setting up your phone to be able to go live. And so anyone can go live at any time, and there are no limitations in terms of how long the live can be. So these are all things to consider as you're sort of developing your plan. Again, we wanted to share with you how we facilitate those conversations, how we develop the agendas for those. And so it gives you some examples to follow. So while me and Courtney have been doing most of the talking, we'd love to hear from you. And so at this point in the workshop, what questions, curiosities, or concerns do you have about going live? So do you feel a little bit better? Because clearly we've made some mistakes during today's workshop as well. And so, do you have any questions that you want to ask? You guys have been engaging us a little bit in the chat, but we'd love to hear from you now if you have any questions or comments.
And
don't worry, folks.
We
still
still have
have more to come. So we will be talking about how we promote our lives and what tools and resources have been useful. I know Emiliano touched a little bit on it, and I hinted towards you seeing the back end of what I utilize, but also we'll talk about lessons, and you guys can learn what things have worked for us, what things we learned on the way, mistakes we've made. We don't mind sharing. Open books over here.
I do have a question.
Please.
What if I think like I want to like bring it into the agency that we can do lives and things like that, but I think one of my concerns would be like, what if nobody joins? What if I like do the live and I'm just kind of sitting there and nobody kind of joins? Like in that case, like what would you do? Like what would I be able to do differently?
Denise, can you introduce yourself real quick? Like tell us your name and your title, organization.
Yes, Denise Tamayo. I am the primary prevention educator at Friendship of Women.
Yay, Friendship of Women in the Valley. Thank you so much. In Brownsville, at the tip of Texas. That's a really great question. I always have that fear when we go live, and actually the live audience isn't very big. So to be completely transparent, I probably have never had more than like 50 people on the live. And we have thousands of followers on Instagram. So, you know, of the potential audience, it's a really small fraction. And we haven't really found a time that has increased or decreased. We've tried different times. We primarily go live in the evenings. And that really hasn't shifted the number of folks who are tuning in. Now, when you create the live on Instagram, it creates a recording then that's available. And what we're noticing is sort of an increase in the number of views post live. And so, like I said earlier, you're creating evergreen content. So, you know, it really is about how you use that content, how you reshare it. We share the Instagram live across all of our social media platforms, even though the Instagram live, well, the live is happening on Instagram. We actually download that recording and share it across our platforms. We have not shared it to YouTube. And so Courtney really inspired me to think about doing that, because again, that's a much broader audience. And we might have folks who are only following us on YouTube and not following us on any of our social media platforms. So I don't really concern myself with how many people are watching. The folks who are watching, you know, it's great, but I know folks could potentially watch it later.
And I would like to add to this too. I do not have the 50 views when I go live. I can tell you I've had literally a handful of people or even less that have shown up, which is funny because the whole premise of an AMA is to have questions. And so part of it is, one, preparing for the possibility of someone not being there, which is why I always have a backup question, because if no one has questions, well, then I'll just keep asking mine. But additionally, the thing to consider is, even if you had just one person watching, if you share that later on, you will now have so many more views. Like the last one we had, I think we had about 5 people join us for the live. But it was fine because afterwards, 155 people watched it online later on. So I try not to worry about, are people going to show up, because the question was still there and the information is still available. So don't get hung up on having a large live audience, because you're still creating something that is useful.
Yeah, Denise, thank you so much for that question. Any other questions or comments or concerns that folks have? Leila, did you have a question?
Any more questions?
Hey, I have a quick question.
Oh, who's this?
Hey, it's Stuart.
Hey, Stuart, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, this is Stuart with the Family Crisis Center. of East Texas. We're in Lufkin. I'm the prevention coordinator. Now, a question for Courtney with the Ask Me Anything. I really dig that concept. And I'm going to start listening in on those because I hate to say it, I was unaware. But I want to just get some clarification on the Ask Me Anything, or to combat the trolls. You know, you have it as a private program or video, whatever you want to call it. So are you restricting this only to TASA members, or if anybody from outside of TASA, if they get an invite, or they allowed in, or is this just for TASA folks?
That is a great question, Stuart. So in the initial, it is intended for TASA members. Caveat. So when I have guests, I do allow them to share the link with their followers and folks that they would like to attend.
Okay.
So there was an instance where it was shared to folks from the human trafficking coalitions, as well as beyond, whoever followed those different programs. And we did have some questions that we weren't able to post, but the positive part, and you'll see it in the tool that I use later on, is that you don't have to add it and you don't have to ask the question. You have full control of how you decide to pursue the live. And so, yes, right now the AMAs are intended for TASA members because this is part of one of the perks that I wanted to provide to members, and it being different from, say, a webinar as we're doing, but being able to do kind of short takes on different things and allowing people an opportunity to ask questions that they may have. Does that answer?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious about that. And like, if somebody had a question, if they submit a question, it's just not instantly seen by anyone, correct? Or is it?
Oh, it is not instantly seen by
Okay.
anyone. So with the
That would have been
platform
my
that I
concern.
use- yes. So what happens is on the back end, and don't worry, I plan on showing y'all, but on the
Okay.
back
I
end,
may be
you're
getting ahead
able
of
to.
everything.
It's all good. You're able to populate the question into the thing.
Okay.
And so simultaneously, I now have our communications manager. They're also on checking for comments in both the Facebook and YouTube in case it's something that requires follow-up as well. So we hit it from both ends where we do answer questions live. If it's something that we can't answer live or we need to follow up with them or add more information, we just mention it while we're on the live and then post that information. Because we even had a person who asked, hey, can I come on the screen and ask my question? And, you know, I did it in with absolutely not, but it was more just like, oh, well, we aren't able to populate you into the live feed. If you want to post your question, we can get that going and respond to you, whatever the question is. So yeah, you know, you just kind of pivot and play with it. But yeah, no one can immediately populate into the video or add their question automatically.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Stuart.
Yeah, great question, Stuart. And Stuart, you should definitely drop your podcast. I know it's not live, but I think it's a really good example of what y'all are doing. So definitely drop the link to your podcast in the chat so folks can get an example of that. I think if you do a regular Facebook Live, which definitely is an option, you should make sure that there is someone who is monitoring the chat, right? And so the delete button and the block button are your best friends when it comes to social media. So we, you know, here at TASA, we're very fortunate and very privileged to have an entire communications department that manages our social media platforms. So whenever someone engages in problematic or abusive behavior on our platforms, we have somebody who will respond and block that person and delete that, or respond to any harm that they may have caused you know, in that post. And so that's really important for everyone to consider. If you are going live, to be able, especially with Instagram, it's just you and the other person. And so you do have to make sure that the questions, the comments are appropriate, and it will give you an option to block those individuals or to delete those comments. And so you just have to sort of be aware. But those tools do exist when you do have an Instagram live, because you are taking live questions and comments. So, and folks are really, folks are generally wonderful in that space, right? These are followers, these are folks who know about TASA, who are connected to TASA in some way. And they tend to be really respectful and engaging and ask really great questions and comments. But these are all things to consider to be able to have somebody that can be with you, especially if you are using Facebook Live or other tools where you're going to have a live audience like we do, so that folks are monitoring the chat. Any other questions or comments?
Hi, I don't have a question, but I did, I guess because when we started, everybody's questions just kind of some of the questions that we had in the beginning when we started doing the Facebook Lives. And we started doing the Facebook Lives, of course, whenever, COVID and everything shut down, and, how do we get the education out there? How do we get just the prevention out there? And so, well, our worries were the same worries, how are we going to engage people? What do we do if nobody gets on and watches our lives? So one thing that we kind of got accustomed to doing was preparing for nobody to show up. Like knowing that nobody will show up, how will you navigate the conversation? So then what we did was we would log on, say, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And then kind of saying, even if you are not able to join us live, this video is going to be recorded and posted on our website. So please engage as if it's still live. Comment, send us your questions, because we will still be active on Facebook. So we'll be able to answer your questions, even though the video is not live. So letting them know that we're still there, even though we're not there. So kind of just letting them know that even though you're not on live, still participate, still answer the questions, still have your questions. Even if you just want to private message us and you don't want to put it down in the chat, it's just a good idea to keep the conversation going and just pretty much saying share.
Thank you, Linda. Can you introduce yourself, Linda, real quick?
Absolutely. My name is Linda Quiroz. I am the Outreach Education Manager here at Montgomery County Women's Center, and we're located here in Conroe, Texas.
Excellent. I think that's just a fantastic suggestion. Thank you so much for sharing that. If you go back and watch some of those Instagram lives, you'll see me address the recorded audience, right? Like if you're watching this recording later on, please leave, comments or questions. So I think that's a really, like, fake it till you make it, right? Like act like you have a live audience, and I love that. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, thank you, Linda. I was going to say I do the same at the end of the video. So I'm like, if you still have questions, post them in the comments. We're out.
So why don't we transition to talk about how you promote your live, right? So again, one of the things, like I said earlier, we are very fortunate here at TASA to have a whole communications department and graphic designer that helps us to create promotional graphics for all of our events, including the virtual institute. So all this is designed by our graphic designer here at TASA. And so this is an example of the Instagram live graphic that we share out on Instagram. So it'll give you an example of how we brand the Texas Men Speak. So this is the Texas Men Speak brand and how we promote the Instagram live on Instagram. We actually share these posts, these graphics across all of our social media platforms. So you'll see these on Facebook as well as Twitter. And we are just, we love them. We love that color. I think they really capture the whole vision and message of the Texas Men Speak.
All right. And so even though we do have a graphic designer, I just want to note that you don't have to have a graphic designer in order to create some things. We'll share some tools in a little while, but I actually do my own graphics for Ask Me Anything. And what you're seeing is an example of like an email communication that goes out. I use the same banner branding color scheme, and you'll see it also within the platform that I use. It's called StreamYard, where you're able to kind of build out what you need. In addition to that, So this was a quick GIF that I made using an app on my phone. Is what I use to promo the event, in addition to the email communications that go out. Also, the platform StreamYard allows you, when you set it up, it automatically creates a save the date on the platforms that it streams to. So you'll see a little thing that just says, I would like to attend, and it will notify you prior. So we hit multiple ways of promotion. So email, posting prior, and then also allowing people to save the date for the lives. And yeah, just so you know, email still reigns as one of the stronger forms of communication to reaching people. But yeah.
Oh, thank you, Courtney. Yeah, that's such a cool gift. So I think, you know, again, Courtney's absolutely right. All of you can do this. You have the tools. You can create some of this content from your phone, from the phone apps that we're going to share later on. But with the Instagram Live, you know, one of the great things is stories, and being able to share images and stories and to use different GIFs or different images. Or so I'm not, you know, I'm working to do a better job of promoting these, not just posting the picture on Instagram, but really figuring out the best message that I can share. Because stories, people look at stories, they don't always look at the posts. And so that's something to consider with Instagram, is that you're going to get a lot more engagement in stories. And so you want your posts on stories to be as engaging as possible, because folks are looking at primarily stories, or they're looking at reels. And so reels, like Courtney said, video is king, and that is true for Instagram right now, that reels are the place, like you're going to get the most engagement on reels. I recently shared a reel of a river in Colorado on my personal Instagram, and it's had hundreds of engagements, right? Likes. And I don't know any of these people. So they're not following me. I don't know how they saw the reel, but reel, like, creating reels right now on Instagram is the place. You know, video is king on Instagram. So I definitely want to encourage you to consider that. Like, if you're doing an Instagram Live, is there a way to cut it into a reel? Reels are very short content. If you're on TikTok, you know what I'm talking about. But that's something to consider, is like chopping up your live video, making it shorter and sharing it as a reel to get the most engagement from folks who are following you, as well as folks who are just following trends online. So let's spend a little bit of time. I think Courtney has done a really great job of mentioning some of the tools and resources that are available to folks. Some of our preventioneers that are in today's virtual workshop have participated in some of the Bootcamp Digital. So if you're not familiar with Bootcamp Digital, it's a wonderful training modules specifically around social media. It's not just for social media managers, but anyone who is creating content, you know, is wanting to share that content on social media platforms. Bootcamp Digital offers all kinds of really great training and technical assistance around how to do that, some of the, you know, so that you're familiar with all the tools. And it's really the nuts and bolts of all the different platforms, how to use them, how to get the most engagement from that particular platform, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. So definitely check out Bootcamp Digital. It can get a little expensive, but it's really worth it. I've attended some of the modules, and so I have found it to be extremely useful. In addition, I want to encourage folks to check out the Help Center from Instagram. So if you're trying to familiarize yourself with the tools of the app and the platform, definitely go to the Help Center, because there's a whole guide on Instagram Lives that will walk you step by step, you know, from launching to ending, to all the tools that are available, you know, in the app. And so definitely check out the Help Center. It's a really great resource. And in addition, we want folks to stay safe online. And so the Heart Mob, if you're not familiar with the Heart Mob, I encourage you to to Google them and check out all their resources that are available, but they've created a specific toolkit to help individuals and organizations stay safe on Instagram. And so as we're talking about like increasing and doing more engagement online, we want to make sure that our followers and that our staff that are doing the engagement are safe and are comfortable and not experiencing harassment. So there's a lot of really great tools that Instagram has incorporated to ensure that folks are safe on the platform. And then finally, there are some really great apps. This is just one app that is available to download your Instagram Live video. So, you know, you can go to your Google Store, your App Store, and there's all kinds of really cool apps. Most of them are free. You're going to get bombarded with ads, but they are really, really useful if you want to download your live and share it across social media platforms. You'll have a copy of that that then you can repost and share. Unfortunately, because it doesn't work on Twitter, but it definitely works on Facebook. And so we definitely encourage you, if you create video Instagram lives, to share them across your social media platforms.
All right, and so this next platform, or not platform, tool, excuse me, is VidEasy. So this is a free resource where you can download videos. So that little GIF that y'all saw in the previous slide, it was created using a video from VidEasy and then downloaded and incorporated into another app, which I'll talk about in a little while. But if you're looking for free videos, you can find that there. StreamYard. I'm going to take a moment and I am going to share my screen so I can show you all the back end of this platform. I will first go through all of the apps, if that's okay, and then we will circle back and go into the back end. But StreamYard is what I use for broadcasting live to both YouTube and Facebook at the same time. The next one is Fuse. This is a cell phone app. It lets you do exactly as it describes. It fuses images or videos with other images or videos that you want to overlay. You can also create the kind of similar same effect on Canva. I'm sure y'all have heard of this. It is a great design tool. You're able to use templates or create your own. So whatever level of design skills you may or may not have, it's really accessible for a lot of folks. But in addition to that, it is free to nonprofits. So you can sign up on their nonprofit list. Just Google Canva nonprofit, and you should be able to find that link in order to sign up. And then the last one I will bring to you is the Noun Project. So they have a bunch of little icons that you can use in order to incorporate into your slides or into your designs. If you're going to make something and you're like, oh, but Canva doesn't have this thing, you might be able to find it on the Noun Project. It's really simplified silhouettes of different shapes and such. So I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay. I'm gonna stop the screen. All right, can y'all see that? Perfect. So this is the back end of StreamYard. You can see that there are broadcasts that have been created. I'm gonna enter into the studio. All right, so what you're seeing right here is the backdrop that I use for Ask Me Anything. What I want to show you, sorry, y'all, give me 1 second. Okay, so what I wanted to show you is over here is where you, on the right-hand side, you can see the branding used for Ask Me Anything. You're able to enter your colors, select how you want to look. You can also update your upload, excuse me, your logo. I will note that if you're adding your logo, that is part of the paid platform. There is also a free platform. So all it will show is powered by StreamYard. But they do have different levels that you can join at. within here. So you're able to utilize whatever designs enter the things, but as well as you can add things to make it more dynamic during your live stream. So this was from our previous one where you're able to add the questions. You can also add a ticker at the bottom. So this is where we ask folks what questions they may have from the field. It's just a more dynamic way to engage during a live stream, so that it's not just you just staring at us. So it's really fun, and you can add yourself to the stream. You can add other folks. If you look below the video, you'll see all the different layout options you have on the back end, including if you want to share your screen. I won't do it because it might feel a little like Inception. So we'll leave it without having multiple videos of you looking at my screen. Yeah, and then additionally, so I know folks asked about how do you populate questions. Right here on the right-hand side, there's a thing for comments. And so as you're streaming, the comments coming from Facebook or from YouTube will populate in this comment section. And so you'll be able to see the questions on the back end and be able to add them to the live stream. Because we're not live right now, I don't have a way to really show y'all that portion of it. But if you ever have questions about it, you can email me at membership@tasa.org. Yeah, so that is StreamYard. You can share the slides again. Thank you, Emiliano.
Thank you, Courtney. Let's try this again. There we go. That is so cool. It is really neat to look behind the curtain and to see how all the things are done. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Courtney. So you have all these really cool tools, and there are others. So if there are particular tools that you're using or any resources that you have found to be super useful, please share those in the chat right now. We'd love for you to share those with other folks. So if you have anything that's not included in this list, please do that. We want to see those in the chat. So as we start wrapping it up here, we are battling again for about what we sort of want you to leave, what we want to leave you with when we talk about Instagram Live. So we definitely want you to be consistent, right? Consistency is the key. And so hopefully you're picking that up and you find really great value in that.
So ultimately, I know y'all asked about like if no one shows up or what if I mess up, you know what, just prepare for what to expect, like Linda said, and hope for the best. Like there's nothing you can do when you are live, but just got to go with the flow of it.
So do what you can to prepare.
I love that. Go with the flow. So when it comes to Instagram Live, you want to make sure that you charge your phone. You want to have that charger close by. You want to make sure that your phone is fully charged before you go live. I've actually lost a live because my phone died. And so definitely, learned an important lesson. So because the Instagram Live is done from your phone, it cannot be done from the desktop. Make sure that phone is live. Really simple practice.
And on par with that is tech runs and testing. I am grateful for tech runs because it's helped alleviate issues of folks having issues with internet connection, to lighting, to realizing that they need to use a different form to stream from. So highly recommend, and just keep doing it.
Like I said earlier, you definitely want to organize your time, whatever that is, right? Just to give people a heads up and to prepare with questions in advance, especially if you're going to have guest speakers or experts on a particular topic. So definitely organize your time, create a Google Doc that you can share with your speaker.
So my next point is focus on the why. Why are you streaming? Why are you having guests? Why are you presenting the information that you're presenting? Don't fret about the other things. Like, just remember why you're doing what you're doing.
And be yourself, right? Just be yourself. Let people see a part of you that they haven't seen before in person or in, in your trainings or online. Just be yourself. That's so important.
Cosign. Be yourself.
Engage your live audience, whatever that is, however you do that, definitely engage your live audience, even if it's while you're doing the live or post live. Share out that live, engage your audience that you have. That's so important. Engagement is really valuable when it comes to social media.
Sharing is caring. Don't be afraid to share yourself with your audience and sharing information with your guests. When I do live streams, I usually propose, like I said, one question that is off topic, and it typically consists of sharing some sort of video, photo, or item with everyone. And it's just to get to know each other a little bit more because, we're in a virtual space and that's hard, but there are ways to create kind of intimacy in your lives. So sharing is caring.
Yes, sharing is caring. Live recording, like I said, share that recording across your social media platform. So easy to do, and it can make a real difference to reach a broader audience.
Conscientious dialogue. So making sure that the conversations that you're having is really genuine to what you want to express and what you're wanting folks to learn from your guests as well as yourself. So
use good lighting and audio. We set up we set up lighting in here. I don't know if you can see us better, but definitely headphones, whatever that you're using, especially for an Instagram live, makes a real difference, so you're not picking outside sound, and that you're using some kind of lighting, even if it's just a lamp from where you're going live, or doing the live outside, or just having really good lighting for your live.
and last but not least, Denise, this is for you. If you build it, they will come. So I won't creepily whisper it. I hope y'all catch that Field of Dreams reference, but just go for it. There is no shame in folks not being there. You never know what will happen in the later as you keep going. So yeah.
Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, go out there, take some risks. If you go live, please share those with us. We'd love to share that content with our members as well. So, and our followers across our social media platforms. So yeah, please share with us when you go live. If you have any additional questions or comments, or if it can be of any additional assistance, please feel free to reach out to us. If you want to talk more about Instagram Live or about Ask Me Anything and going live through StreamYard, definitely reach out to Courtney. I mean, I couldn't think of a better expert, that has so much experience with that platform. So again, thank you so much, Courtney, for being with me and for co-presenting today's workshop, and for all of you for joining us for the first workshop of the Virtual Institute.
Thanks, y'all.